Hello, everyone, and welcome to Lights Camera, the movie review show that hopefully will introduce you to some pretty cool movies. We are two dips and a dad, Justin, Bill, and myself, Doug. I'm no relation to Limo Emo's partner. We're actually three friends who love movies, but we also like to share movies with other people. I'm one of those guys who will you say, oh, you've never seen that movie before, and I'll sit them down and I'll force them to watch it, and then afterwards, we reevaluate our friendships. And that's probably what's going to happen here every week because with every episode, one of us will pick a movie and then all three of us have to watch it. That's right. We're forced to. It's kind of like, Malcolm McDowell in Clockwork Orange with the eyes and everything. So then we come back the following week and we give our thoughts on the film for better or worse. To be fair, not all these movies are winners, Justin. And that will become apparent as we go along. Hopefully, if things go well, we might even bring along some special guests, including our significant others, friends and family, or if you listeners make us important enough, we might get some celebrities. That would be really cool, wouldn't it? So, yeah, make sure you like and subscribe and tell your friends and get everybody involved, because if we get 1 million people, then maybe we'll get, somebody famous on the show. So, after we're done reviewing the movie, we will also talk about ideas such as recasting the movie. Sometimes with modern casts, others with a more retro cast. And in some cases, we even talk about how to change the plot to fit different time periods, or even just to make the movie worth watching. Yeah, like I said, not everything's perfect. So really, the sky's the limit. But you listeners can join in as well. And this is where I want to really make this important for you guys. So make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube page. And please, in the comments, tell us what you're thinking. Have you seen these movies? Do you want to watch them and give your thoughts? How about suggesting a movie none of us have seen? That's right. If you can find a movie that Justin, Bill, or I have never seen, then we will assign it to ourselves, watch it, and we'll give you a shout out in the actual show. Because that would be kind of cool if you could find something that none of us have seen. We've actually done a couple movies on here so far. We've done 6 so far. And there's been at least 1 or 2 that none of us have seen. So bottom line, everybody, sit back, relax, grab the popcorn. It's the inaugural episode of Lights Camera. And this week, Bill assigned us to watch the 1985 comedy starring Tom Hanks and John Candy, Volunteers. This one is gonna be a fun ride, everybody. So strap in and let's have some fun.
Our enemies are all around us. We must always be on our guard. Sure, we'll lose a lot of snooze time, but that's okay. We'll catch up after the revolution's over.
That's enough, Tom.
The leading force behind our revolution is the industrial proletariat. Our closest friends are the entire semi-proletariat and the petty bourgeoisie.
That's enough, Tom.
But there's so much more.
I said that's enough!
All right, and action.
So welcome to the inaugural episode of Lights, Camera.
Whatever.
All right. Actually, I don't like that. So there's 3 of us on the show today, and part of the host. My name is Justin. To my right is
Bill.
And to my left,
Doug.
Doug. I like that. All right. So for those, because you can't see this, we try to do something really fun with Zoom, but we're in a movie theater, but we're facing the wrong way. So Zoom, if you can correct that, it's very, very odd because it feels Mystery Science Theater 2000, but we're the wrong way. So I think it makes us feel like the movie that they're reviewing.
Well, we are presenting films to people. So
That
it's kind of like we're at the back of the theater inviting people to come in and watch something.
Yeah, it's like right after the movie's over, everybody left, and then we turned around the other way to do this for
there you go.
I like that. Almost like, do you remember Siskel and Ebert?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I used to love that. And they'd turn around and then let's watch it. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Or Statler and Waldorf.
Sure. But we're kind of facing the wrong way too. So I think we can emulate that a little bit.
Well, I'll tell you, as a kid, I thought most of the reviews were crap anyway. So I didn't agree.
Yeah.
I grew to appreciate Roger Ebert, and I grew to read between his lines.
Right.
if that makes any sense at all. I mean, it's like he put out a book every year of like all these collected movie reviews, and I would get it every year and read them. And yeah, he and I would disagree sometimes, but the thing is you could read his reviews and you could see, okay, well, he didn't like the movie for this reason, but I like that movie for that reason. And so you could kind of, figure it out from there. But I will be honest and say that the entire reason that I actually went out and made myself watch Godfather 2 for the very first time was because he said it was better than Godfather 1.
But you did watch them in order, correct?
Well, yeah, but see, I was a fan of Godfather going back to when I was like 10 or 11. Okay. But sequels were kind of weird. And it was like, and I was like, I don't know if I could watch a sequel to The Godfather. Granted, I'm a kid. I saw Godfather Part 2 for the first time when I was 19. And it was because I forced myself to watch it because I was like, turns out now Godfather Part 2 is my favorite film of all time. But it was because in this book, Roger Ebert said it's one of the rare times that a sequel completely outdoes the original. And I was like, really? So I went and did that. So I do have kind of an affinity for Roger Ebert a little bit.
By the way, if I can figure out a way to get paid full time to go watch movies and tell people what I think about them, I mean, what a job.
Well,
in a heartbeat.
I think we're doing this stuff right now.
Now,
yeah, we're just not getting paid, right?
Yes.
Yes, right.
That's the key word.
This podcast sponsored by insert your company name here.
Well, I sponsor it by Mountain Dew Zero, but that's me. So.
Well, so we're three dudes that love movies, and we're friends and wanted to get together. And what we're going to do is something a little bit different, and a little bit more unique. We thought is we're going to pick a random movie. Each person's going to pick one each week. We're going to talk about the plot, what it's about, and then each of us are going to talk about what we like, what we don't like, what we change. Then we're going to talk about what if we remade this movie today, how would we cast it, what would we do, and most importantly, then we talk about what we're going to review the next week. And I think you guys are going to love my title. I'm not going to lie. This I'm pretty excited.
So this week we're talking about the movie Volunteers. It is I've been on this quest lately where I've been rediscovering some old films and, what do I like? What do I not like? I've kind of been doing the does it stand the test of time thing, that's kind of like my own little fun, thing that I put movies through. But Volunteers, 1985 movie with Tom Hanks and John Candy and Rita Wilson and other people. It is so it was fun for me to go back and rewatch that one. I probably saw it in 1985. I probably saw it again in like 1992 or something, and then I have not seen it since. So maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe I saw it 3 times, but not many more. Like it's one of those ones I remember. I remember it fondly, and then I just watched it like a week ago, and was like, okay. That's why I brought it up, because for me, this one was fun, and it was a little different than what I remembered from the original, but I didn't remember that much. Like honestly, it wasn't one that I, it's not like Fletch or something where I know every line from the movie or whatever. It's not that. For me, it kind of like fell off the radar, and so I think I saw it on HBO or whatever it was on. And I was like, oh, wow, I totally forgot about that movie. Let's check it out.
The psychological motivation course you took, did you find that on the back of a matchbook cover? I don't understand it. I explained the bridge, everything was A-okay. And I mentioned the teakwood we'd be using, and they went heathen on me.
The problem is, you're an asshole.
All right, let's not get personal. Who said that?
Both of you guys watched it now, right?
Yeah. And
no, I am a longtime fan of this movie. I've watched it probably more than you. I didn't know what your exact history with it was, but now that you've said this, it's like, oh no, the late 80s, early 90s, this was a go-to movie for me. I'm not going to say I have the whole thing memorized, but yeah, I pretty much cue most of the lines very quickly because it's one of those.
See, it just never hit that status for me. There's so many others that did from that era, but this one was just like it just kind of fell off my radar.
Well, Justin knows very well that I'm a big home theater guy, home video guy. In the late 80s, I was collecting VHS tapes like crazy. By the time you got to 92, 93, 94, I think I had like 3,000 movies on video. And yeah, saw that jaw drop there, buddy. Then made the move over to Laserdisc, where I never got more than 500 Laserdiscs, but I was collecting them. But I started selling my Laserdiscs before they became defunct. So I started making profit on them because some of them were out of print. And then that's when I moved over to DVD. And now, of course, I'm DVD, Blu-ray, 4K. Volunteers was never released on DVD or excuse me, never released on Blu-ray or 4K. It's only, it's only on DVD. And the DVD I own is from the late 90s.
Wow.
Are there any special features in that?
No, nothing. It's such a bare bones DVD because the movie was relatively, I mean, it did okay, but it wasn't like big or splash. You know, it was an okay movie. You know, it did okay. I actually saw it on a date with a girl who I never went out on a second date with. She didn't laugh at all. She didn't find the movie funny at all.
So that's your test.
What's that again?
That was your test. Take him to Volunteers.
The only time I saw it in the theater was that time. But that's the thing is I couldn't believe she wasn't laughing because I was just howling all the way through it.
How did you put up with your mom after that?
Well, she came around.
So one of the things that I like the most about this movie, okay, is just like Animal House, basically. It's a movie set in the 60s, released in 1985. You know, and you know, Animal House a little bit predates this thing, but I think it's kind of cool because there wasn't a whole lot. There's not a lot of movies that would be this. Like, I mean, yes, you'd set a movie in the 60s that historically took place in the 60s. You know, like that's more like JFK or something like that, whatever, which is in the 50s. Actually, early 60s. But anyway, you know, this movie is like, you know, they could have set this in 1985 or 1984 when they were shooting or whatever, easily, right? And then but there was this like creative decision to set it in the 60s, and I think that's kind of fun, you know. Like I think that was a fun thing, just because it gave us a little bit more to play with in terms of, you know, I think that we didn't have to lean into any 80s bullshit, right? Like there was no, I don't know, parachute pants and what have you in this thing. Like we didn't have to do any of that. You know, and then Tom Hanks is driving a Corvette, and you got that whole, like, especially when you're playing that East Coast thing where he actually, I think he does a decent, you know, like whatever stuck up East Coast accent.
I love the pompous accent. Yes.
Yeah. But it also plays better, right? I mean, it's supposed to be this Ivy Leaguer, and somehow the Ivy League seemed to hold more weight in the 60s than it did in the 80s. You know, and this whole, you know, he's Biff or whatever, you know, that type of character. So I think that was kind of fun. I think that the era itself is kind of cool. Maybe it was more historically accurate to the 60s than it was to the 80s too.
Well,
again,
one of the things that I really found interesting about it upon watch, because I watched it again over the weekend after you presented it to us. One of the things I found really interesting about it is that once they arrive in Thailand, once everybody gets there, most of the 60s pop culture references just go away.
Yeah.
And it's not like they update it and make it all 80s. They don't do that either. They just don't make it so deep that it alienates anybody. They set the scene and then they just allow the characters in the story to take over without forcing the time period, which they kind of sort of also did in Animal House, which made Animal House, you know, very palatable as well. So, but yeah, I never really noticed the fact that, oh my God, this movie is taking place in the 60s because it starts there. But then once you get going, you don't really think about that too much. It's not something that overwhelms you. And so
it turns out the jungles of Thailand are timeless. They could.
Well, so that's what I was going to tell you. So I looked a little bit of history up here. So I'm going to tell you two things. So first of all, these wonderful gentlemen over here told me that it was PG, and I decided not to look at the actual rating. So I'm watching. Thank God I'm watching with my 14-year-old son. In the first 2 minutes, there's unbelievable amount of boobs, and there's like
I forgot about that.
Oh yeah, there's ton. Like he's on the floor, anyways, and he's gambling and dropping the F-bomb and the N-word probably 15 times. Okay, so my son looks at me and goes, "Oh, if I should be watching this." I'm like, guys,
I love when kids filter themselves.
it was awesome. Yeah, I'm very proud of him.
I don't remember the breasts. It was the F-bombs that popped out at me.
Well, they're good breasts, so please take another look. The second thing I was going to tell you
it was
is,
Bunny, then yeah, of course.
see, I was wondering though, like when I looked at this, because I was wondering. I always love to see where movies are filmed. Do you guys want to guess? So it seems like it's Thailand. You would think it's Thailand. I'm going to tell you, it's not Thailand.
Yeah, I was going to say, that was another thing I was thinking about to myself was, the majority of this movie probably could have been filmed in Topanga Canyon.
You're not far.
Right. All right, where are we at? Is it close?
It's Oaxaca, Mexico. And
okay.
Where? Oaxaca?
Oaxaca, sorry, yes. I looked it up and it blew me away. They imported 100 extras from Thailand to film in Mexico. And I just something to think about there. Just something to think about. But I got to tell you, I've never seen this movie before. I love seeing new movies for the first time. Bill, I thought this was a great, fun ride. I loved the setting. And one of my favorite scenes, there's two for me. I love when he just pulls up in the Corvette to the plane and gets on, right? Like he just exchanges a badge and he's able to go to Thailand. No questions asked, nothing. Not even a passport, right?
Oh, it was the 60s, right? I mean,
true.
They just got on planes and went places. No one cared.
I kind of miss those times, to be honest with you.
I guess.
I love right before then, though, when it's like the old Indiana Jones, he's drawing on a map and it shows the car, but then it does like these weird circles. I love that. Just those little tiny moments overall. And one last fun fact, because I looked this up. In this movie, they built the world's longest suspension bridge.
Mm-hmm.
What? And then blew it up. Yeah, I swear to God. I double checked it. It's for this movie to get across, that whatever.
Right.
I would challenge that because I know the Tacoma Narrows Bridge, which is funny because you have Tom Tuttle from Tacoma. The Tacoma Narrows Bridge at the time was the longest suspension bridge, and I know that it's longer than the bridge they built.
I thought the one in Vancouver is the longest.
I'm sorry, I'm wrong. I meant to say rope, like it's not steel. It's
rope bridge.
Right, okay, there we go. That kind of bridge.
Sorry, that's what I'm saying. Yes. So
I will say there's a wide shot of the bridge in there that does not seem to line up at all with any other shot. Like it looks like a helicopter shot of a different bridge. Like, and maybe it's just all perspective and lensing and whatever else, but there's a wide shot of that thing in there that looks like a completely different. I mean, it's massive. Like the distance across that river seems like,
a mile.
Mississippi at its widest or something. Yeah, and then like then you look at the thing and it looks like, oh, I could run across there. It's like 100 yards or something. I don't know.
Well, so to go through all the characters, I would say like I loved all of them. John Candy, first of all, one of the things that's also great about the 80s, I was talking with one of you about this prior to this. Like, I love the fact that he uses his full name, and everyone does the whole time. It's never like it's Tom Tuttle from Tacoma, Washington. Everybody, the communists, everybody.
Well, it's mostly the Chinese communist guy who brainwashes him. He's the one who does it. And to be honest, that whole sequence where he's first abducted and then the flip to where he's completely brainwashed, that is like one of my all-time favorite scenes, and it's mostly because of the Chinese communist brainwasher, because he's constantly referring to him as Tom Tuttle of Tacoma. That's his title.
And by the way, he's credited on IMDb as Tom Tuttle from Tacoma.
Yeah,
like, it's not even Tom Tuttle.
Yeah, I mean, later in the film, Rita Wilson and Tom Hanks just refer to him as Tom. They don't call him anything else. But it's that Chinese guy. He gets me every time he says it.
Now,
never goes away.
Are you on IMDb right now, Bill?
Yes.
Can you do me a favor? Is that Long Duck Dong? Is the
It is. It is. That's Getty Watanabe. He kills it in that movie too. He absolutely.
By the way, that's
asshole.
Yeah. I mean, that's another thing that I do want to say. Like this will be as controversial and sensitive as possible. I do feel like Long Duck Wong, in retrospect, a somewhat insensitive Asian character. You know what I mean? Like it
hugely so.
It definitely perpetuated stereotypes and things like that. In this movie, I feel like he's just cool. You know what I mean? I feel like he's a cool.
It doesn't matter what his race is.
I mean, yes, I feel like there's definitely a somewhat of a put down of Thai culture in general, probably in this thing. But he's like instantly the cool guy. Like he's way cooler than Tom Tuttle from Tacoma.
He's
like
the smartest guy in the room.
You know,
he's the smartest guy there.
Yeah, he befriends Tom Hanks right away. Hashtag Lawrence Bourne the third.
For me, the thing is that because he's okay. First off, he's Japanese. He's not Thai. That's the first thing.
Right.
Okay. So you got that argument already. You got a lot of other things that you could point to that say there are insensitive either to him or to the Thai culture of the film, whatever. But it's the fact that they made him the smartest guy there.
Yeah.
I think that gets overlooked. Not by us, obviously, but I think that gets overlooked.
Smart in this movie is very low. I mean, they're all there for the wrong reasons.
But they qualify it when Rita Wilson has that scene where she's trying to explain to everybody that they're going to inoculate them, and then she botches the last line and says, "And this is why we want to kill you." That shows that Rita Wilson isn't that smart either.
The only real miss is though they should have had him hook up with that like really dangerous chick at the end with the big.
Oh yeah,
he should have hooked up with her.
What happened? So that's one thing I was going to say. The one thing I didn't like is they didn't really wrap it up. Like all of a sudden the bridge is blown up and then the movie ends. Like there's no there's no resolution. Like what happens to them? Like,
well, that's the resolution. It's over. The movie. The bridge.
Well, I mean, they do say that Tom Hanks opens a bar out there called. I named it Lawrence's after me.
Yeah, they did that little post.
Yeah, they put a little
like,
thing there at the end.
Dear Dad, I'm staying.
I'm staying in Thailand.
Oh, you're right. Sorry.
Yeah.
Corrected.
Yeah.
But yeah, what did happen to the girl with the cool nails?
Well, she obviously lost the battle, and she probably works at Lawrence's now.
Probably, yeah. I mean, just stabbing fruit for the drinks, I guess.
There you go.
Well, Kelly kept wondering, how do you wipe with that? I'm like, carefully.
What did Kelly think? Your wife?
So she is a 16 Candles. That's kind of her 80s movie. She kind of rolled her eyes through all the way through, and you kind of could see halfway through. She looked over at me like, "Do I have to finish this with you?" And I was like, "No, you don't have to." So she saw a good majority of it, but like, I think she didn't like the John Candy character. I thought, Tom Tuttle, I thought he was hysterical, and like on the plane, how he just keeps talking, and then when he tries to do the intervention, like, oh, I know what the problem is, and you're like waiting for this big reveal, and it's totally the opposite. I love those kind of things, and she just thought it was stupid.
Am I the only person who noticed that John Candy might have actually gained weight during the film? Either he gained weight or he lost weight at one point. Am I the only one who noticed that?
Evidently, they had no cocaine in Mexico.
In the opening scenes, he seemed like he was about 20, 30 pounds lighter. And then after he gets captured and becomes brainwashed, the weight is back on. And or the way to know him at. Now I do know that they did take a break in production over the holidays. They took like a 6-week break in production over the holidays, so everybody could go home for the holidays. So they filmed it before the holidays and after the holidays. So there's a good chance John Candy had a big Thanksgiving and Christmas
in Canada.
I will say this about like I find him funny, the Tom Tuttle from Tacoma thing. But I feel a little bit one note about his character. Like, I don't really feel like there's much of an arc for him. Obviously, it's Lawrence's story, right? I mean, that's whose movie it is.
Mm-hmm.
But Tom kind of like, he goes through this big transformation in it. He gets converted in like 1 second, right? Because he's so weak-minded.
Literally.
And the conversion back is like another 1 second, like slap, you're out. But, there's not much of a story arc in there for him, so he feels a little bit one note to me, or very one note to me. Where I feel like they could have even maybe done more with him, You know what I mean? Like there's talk about no resolution. Like I just don't feel like
Yeah.
he for a character that is that big. I mean, you know, and you know, I would even say, you know, what's the character he played there? At Toon. You know, he's got a bigger story arc. Rita Wilson's got a bigger story arc, like whatever. Tom's just he's the same comic relief character like throughout.
Yeah. And I totally agree with what you're saying, but I defend it by saying at that time, John Candy wasn't John Candy. He wasn't there yet. He'd done a lot of small stuff. He hadn't done any leads and anything major at that point.
Uncle Buck? Wasn't that
He hadn't done Uncle Buck yet.
Oh.
He hadn't even done Summer Rental yet.
Wow.
Yeah, he hadn't done anything. He was in like Vacation. He was in Stripes. Going Berserk, I think, was the only thing he'd done where he was a lead.
Well, yeah, where are we at? We're at 85. So it's the same year as Summer Rental.
Okay. But I'm almost positive Summer Rental came out later because I remember Volunteers being before Summer Rental.
He was Stripes before this.
Yeah.
You know, Blues Brothers not as big a role for him.
Yeah. Most of those roles though were very small. I felt like they allowed him more to do in Volunteers, but I still agree with you about his character being one note.
He was in Splash before this, but again, not a big role.
He has that great racquetball scene in Splash.
Yeah, by the way, so it's like Tom Hanks and who knew that Tom Hanks and John Candy are doing movies together? Like, what's up with that?
I don't. Do you guys know? I don't know if were they friends outside of this. I don't know.
I mean, they were friendly enough to do a couple of movies together. I guess I don't know. Well,
yeah,
not like it's their choice, but you know.
Well, they play well together. It looked like they did.
Although they're not even in the movie a lot together.
On the plane, and then at the end when they try to blow up the bridge, and he, you know,
when they first get there, and then like blowing up the bridge. I mean, John Candy's he's out of the movie for a lot.
Yeah, it's not long after they arrive that he goes, you know, hunting for wood for the bridge, and then he gets captured by the Chinese. So, but then they bring him back, and then he suddenly has this fanatical, we got to build the bridge.
Does he get captured by the Chinese or the North Vietnamese?
I thought it was North Vietnamese, but if you look on a map, they're not close to each other, so it must be the Chinese.
It's the Chinese because the guy's wearing the green hat with the red star, and he's also talking about the People's Republic.
What are the Chinese doing in Vietnam?
They're in Thailand.
Or Thailand. Oh, well, there you go. What
I
are
don't
they
know.
doing in Thailand?
I don't know.
I think like everything else, trying to spread the word. Now, one character we haven't talked about is personally one of my favorite in the thing because he's such a weirdo. I love the guy who talks to his knife. What's his name?
Tim Thomerson.
Oh my God, yes.
He's with Rita Wilson in one scene, and obviously he pulls out his knife and starts talking to it, and she's like, "Oh, you're one of those," you know. And he just leaves.
Yeah.
And Mick or something is the knife. It was just I love
And
that.
Mike.
Yeah. I mean,
Again, a bigger arc than Candy because he starts out as, you know, the liaison for the Peace Corps, and again, I still don't understand. Was he part of the Peace Corps? Was it always a lie? And he just like took the plane. Like, I didn't quite understand that reference.
I think he was part of the Peace Corps, but you know, he had dual loyalties.
I will. So I did have to look this up. You know, I was wondering if this is the movie where Rita and Tom met. And evidently they met on Bosom Buddies. But I don't know how. I don't know at what point they were an item. Like I know they met on Bosom Buddies. I don't know if they like.
They became romantic on Volunteers.
Okay, they became romantic.
They did.
What's
They
the
quote
difference
hooked up
in
as
years
the kids
between the
would say.
two in terms of the Bosom Buddies and this? Did they come out close to each other?
Yeah, Bosom Buddies.
From the interview that I watched several Tom Hanks interviews over the weekend too, and he basically talked about how they met on Bosom Buddies, but they didn't become romantic until they were on Volunteers. Volunteers is when they actually clicked and became a couple.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's no problem at all. We're all here to lean on each other, aren't we?
Kent Sutcliffe. Kent, I'm Beth Wexler.
Beth Wexley, yes. Of course.
Well, you don't know me.
Do you know me?
Well, I know the name. We're going to be stationed together. Long time.
Oh, Beth Wessler. Oh, yes, of course. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Well, you know, what with finals and graduation and my brother dying so tragically.
That's cool.
And they just recently celebrated, what is it, their 35th wedding anniversary, just like last month or something.
And their 4th year as swingers, right?
And they're now and they're Greek citizens now.
Wait, is that
Are they really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think she had Greek heritage and then he converted or something to Greek Orthodox or something. But anyway, they're both Greek citizens now.
That's interesting.
Well, because Wilson is a very, very Greek name. I mean, if you look up the genesis of that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Wilsonia, yes.
That was Zeus's last name, was Wilson.
That's originally, but it got
Zeus
stricken from
Wilson.
the record.
Yeah.
Very few people know that, Bill. I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
So let's change gears, guys, and let's move this forward here. Let's talk about, okay, if today, because this was made in 85, so roughly close to 40 years, what is that, 40 or 38 years, something like that, 37 years later. So what would you, if we were to make this today, how would we cast it? What would we do? Would we change anything? Let's go through this for a second here.
Sure. I'll go first.
Please.
And when I say making it now, I'm just going to say making it within the last 10 years or whatever, right?
Okay.
Like
more
maybe
recent.
not today. Okay. I think in Lawrence Bourne III, I think you could have a blast with Vince Vaughn in that character, and Tom Tuttle as Kevin James, no problem. I don't know who I'd put in for Rita's character. I don't know who I'd go with there.
I was actually thinking Margot Robbie.
Oh, sure.
I mean, just for a couple of reasons. One, because she plays comedies really well. Like I know that she's, more of the sexual and kind of drama type, but she's really good in comedies when she does them. And I think she can play the part, that weird straddle the line role. So that's who I was going to put there.
Right. The other option might be like an Anna Kendrick.
Oh, but there's no singing in this. She loves to sing. I guess you have to use
Quirky.
musical.
Like she's quirky chick, and I feel like Rita pulls off quirky chick there. She's not pulling off like Vava Voom, I mean, she's pretty. Rita Wilson's, she's a pretty person anyway. But that's not really, it's not like sex symbol pretty. It's a little bit the quirky chick.
I like the Margot Robbie suggestion, but I was going to go with Emma Stone.
So first of all, you could never put a ginger there because she would burn. It's out in the jungle too much. So we got to recast automatically, Douglas. You're in the right headspace, but unfortunately, there's so much outside shots that she would just get cancer and you get sued.
Right. By the way, I can't even weigh on this one. I definitely have an Emma Stone crush, so you can put her in pretty much everything. She could play Indiana Jones as far as I'm concerned. The only movie, by the way, that we will not review, because unless you just want me screaming for an hour, is La La Land, because
I've never seen it.
And you know what? I think we should now, because I've never seen
it. Save your time.
Hold on. Bill, you've seen it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, then you don't have to watch it. Just Justin and I do.
I know, but my blood will boil just talking about it. Like it is.
But that could be fun.
Yeah. Let's get back to this one for a second. So
okay.
I will tell you, like,
who's your Lawrence Bourne, Justin? The third.
So this one was a weird one for me because I kept going back and forth, but the guy that kept going in my mind, in and out, was actually kind of like a Robert Downey character. Was a little bit.
Ooh, he could be fun.
I thought that was just kind of, but I was afraid he was too old. It was this weird line, but something about him, almost
he is too old.
But I couldn't find anyone else that was younger that it just seemed to fit for me. So my mind kept going there. So I don't know what I do, but that's maybe
because it's just post college, right? So this guy's supposed to have graduated college 10 minutes ago. Which, by the way, Vince Vaughn's too old for that too.
Yeah, but one of the things that I had mentioned earlier was, I mean, obviously we wouldn't want to go too old, But I mean, but what if the remake wasn't necessarily 100% faithful to the script, and instead of being people who got straight out of college, they take them all the way up to like 30, 35. You know, people who wanted to join the Peace Corps. So you just tweak the script a little bit and make them people who wanted to join the Peace Corps rather than people who just got out of college.
Which would take them.
Yeah. So that then your Vince Vaughn, he'd still be a little on the high end, but it's still a good choice. I mean, performance-wise, it's still phenomenal. When you said that, I was like, oh my God, that's great. And Robert Downey Jr., yeah, still a little too old, but I could totally see it. I was going to say Ryan Reynolds.
Oh, that's a man. We nailed, gentlemen. High fives. Those are great.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Yeah.
I was going to say Ryan Reynolds.
See, if we were, I was going to put him, and we did we hopefully review it. Animal House. He was going to be in Animal House for sure, especially because Van Wilder.
I was just going to say he was in Animal House. He did Van Wilder.
Little different though. I mean, I don't want to besmirch Animal House with that. It's
really hard to recast Animal House for me personally.
Oh yeah,
it's pretty flawless.
That's like recasting Godfather. You know, those two get compared a lot, by the way. Those Animal House and Godfather.
All the time.
All the time.
Now, where would you set this though? Because now that I mean, if you put it in Thailand now, it'd just be a bunch of like sex clubs. So
that's perfect. I'm down. Let's do it right now.
I didn't say it was a bad thing. It would just
I'll work on the script today.
So where would you guys do it today?
Yeah, right.
Because
that is a good question.
A sense of commie intrusion. Now we can always go back.
Yeah, it's almost like you need to go to Africa, I would say.
That was my first thought, but then I was thinking
Africa's a big place, right? But somewhere there.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking that was the first thing that popped in my head was Africa, but then I was thinking someplace, I don't know exactly where, but someplace like northeastern India or something like that.
Right.
I was going to say
like some Eastern Bloc country.
Yeah, could do that too.
But I don't know whether you'd have the same level of fun.
No,
you know?
It'd be very dark. You have to film with like sepia lens. Yes, it just wouldn't.
By the way, the mission's probably going to be different too. Like the whole mission would, like building a bridge. I don't know whether that would be the mission now. You know what I mean? Like if
yeah, I can, because I think all the bridges have been built.
Why don't we just set it in Mexico and build a tunnel underneath the wall?
That's awesome.
We're going to go to where they actually shot the original one for the remake.
We didn't.
1,000 miles north underground. Let's go.
Guys. World's longest underground smuggling tunnel. We built it for the movie. They built the longest suspension bridge. We're going to build the longest.
That means we have to bring in a bunch of Swiss, because aren't they the best at building tunnels? So we'd have to they had to import from Thailand. We're going to have to import from Switzerland.
And if you look at it this way, the whole thing could be shot underground. So therefore it could all be done on sets. We don't even have to go on location. It'll save them a lot of money. You know what we didn't do, gentlemen? We didn't describe the plot.
Oh. Well, I assume everyone just hit pause on this, went watch the movie, and then came back and
we didn't describe the plot.
That is a fair point. I thought about that a second ago, and I was like, you know what? We've described so much of it. Maybe we've enticed them enough that they're putting the pieces together. I mean, if you just talk about the pieces we talked about Peace Corps. They're in New York to start with, or Connecticut, and they leave from New York. Then they end up in Thailand, and somehow China's involved, and they build a bridge.
Yeah, that's enough. No, I mean, basically, it's Lawrence's story, right? So Lawrence born the third. At the same time he's graduating from college, he's got some big gambling debts come due, and the people who want their money, and he's used to his dad bailing him out all the time. So he goes to his dad and says, "Hey, give me the money." His dad says, "No, you need to stand on your own now." He's definitely still not ready to do that. His roommate in college is heading off on the Peace Corps. He's like, "Oh, I'll just go do that." Zips over to the airport in his Corvette, being chased by the people that he owes money to, leading them on a fun little map chase. And he gets the airport and convinces his former roommate, like, kind of, "I'll trade you the Corvette for your seat on the plane."
And his hot girlfriend.
And his hot girlfriend. He has his title in his shirt pocket. Who cares their title? And he's like,
Yeah,
"Here's your title." He's like, okay.
Yeah, he's just got the car title. Oh yeah, okay, here, I'll sign that over to you. We all carry our car title in our pocket. It's not even in the glove box. Like
No.
it's not even there.
On his person.
Yeah, it was the '60s. Everybody carried their car title in their pocket back then. Yeah, and then he hops on the plane, thinking that it's nothing, and he's just gonna get there, turn around, and come back. I don't know why he thought when he gets to Thailand, he'd just be able to call his dad and then say, "Hey, now wire the money." His dad wouldn't give him the money when he was standing in his office in Connecticut or whatever. What are the odds he was going to give it to him once he's in Thailand? I don't know. But anyway,
not good.
He doesn't. And then they're in Thailand, and the Peace Corps is building a thing, and Rita Wilson is she's very altruistic and there for all the right reasons. And I think Tom Tuttle as well, right? I think he's there because he's super gung. But I think his character would get gung ho about anything. I think you would wind him up about a trip to Dairy Queen.
He's completely and totally ideals. That's what he is. And
yeah, he's 100% committed to whatever he's doing.
Yeah,
and that can change with the wind.
And it does.
And it
does. And then basically silliness ensues. One of them's abducted, and the best part is they go missing. He goes missing, and they kind of like, he'll come back. Like, yeah, but he's lost in the jungle. He'll be fine.
No one even mounted like a search party to just go look around and see if he had fallen and broken his leg or something.
Rita Wilson wanted to start a search party for him. Rita wanted to start a search party for him, but Tom Hanks and Tim Thomerson were both like, nah, he'll come back.
He's fine. Walk it off.
Yeah.
And then you go to this compound that I will say I love the background on that because you can it looks like almost Wizard of Ozzy. You're like, okay, that is a fake background. Like you didn't even try. But I don't know. I loved it. I thought it was very fun. And then at the end, things work out. Is that fair?
Yeah, I do like the conversion of Lawrence's, like when she first shows up there, he plans that romantic evening, and he lures Rita Wilson over there to have a drink at Lawrence's. And what did she say? She's like, I can't even get a razor or something like that. You've got, a bar.
Yeah.
Like, something like this, whatever it is she can't get. But it's I just love that they went full on like Gilligan's Island, where it was just like, yes, where did you get all this stuff? Like it's just, somehow he's got everything.
And
I guess it's through his black market connections.
Yeah.
So real quick, without either one of you going to IMDb and looking, because that's cheating.
Okay.
Who's the director?
Oh, I even looked at that a minute ago and I still don't know.
Nicholas Meyer, the same guy who did Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan.
Shut up.
Oh, that lines up.
Yep.
They're almost identical.
That lines up.
What else did
Did he do anything? Those are pretty big movies.
Yeah, he also did. I think he did Undiscovered Country too for Star Trek. But yeah, he's arguably the most popular Star Trek film of all time. He did, and then a few years later, he did Volunteers. One last thing with Volunteers before we move. Each of us, quick star review it. 4 stars being the best. What would you give it?
So,
like in the pantheon of film? Like I'm just measuring this against all films?
No.
No, just on its own, on its own merits.
On its own merits. I'll give it a 3.
Okay. That's what I was going to give it. A 2, almost.
I'm definitely 3.5.
Okay.
That's not bad.
Definitely 3.5. It is without a doubt one of my favorites. So.
Right. I can't wait to rate La La Land.
I've never seen you this passionate about a movie before, so I think one of us definitely has to pick it just so we can go. I want to see this. Anyways,
my rating will be: I take away your stars. That's how low it is.
But let's move on with Justin's referral for next time.
For next week. So here's what I'm referring to, gentlemen. We had talked about it, and I went back and forth off and on. And I was like, Doug said we should pick a movie that he's never seen, and I was like, well, I didn't see one this week. Maybe we should pick one that none of us have seen, and I know none
that's
of us
good too.
So that would be kind of fun. We can go in eyes wide open, totally, free of judgment, and come back with a review. So this actually comes to us from another meeting at one point in time, Paws of Fury.
Okay.
Ooh.
Sure. I thought you guys have seen it.
See,
I have not.
No, I've never seen
Also,
it.
none of us have seen Paws of Fury.
That's what I said. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Because I honestly, honest to God, I thought that when we were talking about it, you guys were saying that you guys had seen it.
No.
Oh, okay.
And it is not PAUSE.
No.
That changes everything.
WS.
That's a movie about like your internet's buffering or whatever.
Yeah, I was all done for that one.
The movie's just a bzzz the whole time. So I will tell
Actually,
you.
Paws of Fury is a documentary about Bill watching La La Land.
Yeah. It's every time you're watching a movie and somebody has to get up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the movie, you have to, gotta pause again.
Damn it. So you watched the movie at our house. All right. We actually instituted a ban in our house. We usually watch movies on Sundays, but so many people have gotten up to go pee or grab something to eat during it that I've actually banned them for a month because I was like, I'm tired of just we paused it all the time. Like it was literally like every 5 minutes. I'm like, I can't do this. And then you don't pause it and everyone gets mad. So this will be an unstopped movie. So it's a cartoon. I don't know if you're going to like it or not. I don't know what to expect, but the preview, I watched it again to make sure it looks pretty darn cute. And it's a cartoon and it's a comedy. So
who made that? Is it DreamWorks or something, or what is that?
it's either Illumination or DreamWorks. I don't remember.
Okay. Maybe I even have that. I'll see if they have it.
The thing is animation is like my least favorite genre, period.
Perfect.
So yeah, this will be perfect. I mean, I'm not saying that there are not great animated movies out there. I'm a huge fan of like the early DreamWorks, or excuse me, the early Pixar, the early Pixar stuff. I'm a really big fan of the early Pixar stuff. And there have been a few animated movies over the years that I've been drawn to. But for the most part, I feel like it's just gotten so out of control in the last 20 years that I don't even want to deal with it anymore. So, but you picked it. I'll watch it.
Okay.
It's the only one that I knew because for those that you can't see, we built a list offline that I think is over 200 now of movies.
Oh, it's more than that. It's more like 500 now.
Oh, Jesus. So anyways, I was going through and I'm like, well, shit, I've seen a lot of these. I know my two movie just fanatics. I know we would have seen most of them, but I know none of us have seen this one. So I was like, all right, let's do it. Let's just.
I like that idea.
I actually did start adding some titles last night that I've never seen.
Well, you were talking about seeing Stop My Ass Is on Fire. Have you seen that yet, or?
Too many times. And I do have to say that that's probably the best film Bill's ever directed. So,
yeah, that was definitely a point of pride in my career.
Well, gentlemen,
I honest to God want to know how you got Al Pacino in that.
He said he wanted a real sense of a woman, so he's like, "Let's do it."
He called me. He heard about this thing going on. He was like, "I got to be in that."
I really want to get in there. Yes.
Ooh.
See? Ooh. Gentlemen, this was really fun. Thank you.
It was.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I will volunteer to come back again for the next one.
Oh, thank you. See, most of you don't get to appreciate the puns. Bill is the pun king. I got to tell you, he is so damn creative. I'm being full credit, no jokes. You are so, it's so cheesy most of the time, and I freaking love it. So thank you.
At some point, we all have to have our own our own nicknames. But yeah, Pun King for Bill is we've kicked that off already.
I have a minor and dad joke, so it's right. It's not even fair.
I'll pause this one. But thank you, gentlemen. Until next time.
All right.
And everybody, watch Paws of Fury between now and the time of the release of the next one.
And cut. Brent, we're moving on. That was perfect.
Please follow our YouTube channel and check back for future episodes. If you'd like to suggest a movie for us to assign to each other, please send them to us in the comments. This podcast is a production of Two Dips and a Dad Productions. Production and post-production support is by Sean Robinson of Parker Kent Entertainment. Thank you for joining us.